In our last race, the Bloomsburg Mud Pit lived up to its doomsday reputation. Today, we'll see if this pool of peril can be tamed. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the best in NMRO mud racing. Today, it's the Summer Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals from the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. As the crowd is ready for Class 6 competition, we can tell you that Bloomsburg has always been considered somewhat dangerous because of the close proximity of the shutdown area to the stage. Now, in Class 5, we saw more carnage than we have ever seen before. Cars coming out of the pit, rolling over, shearing off wheels, breaking axles, and hitting the Yodoc barriers. And keep in mind, many of the guys in Class 5 also compete in Class 6. So we have a lot of hurt iron. And here with more on the walking wounded is Army Armstrong.
Gary, today, this could very easily be the toughest line in the motorsporting world to get into. Why do I say that? It's real simple. If you didn't have a buddy to help you get in this line, and then you didn't help your buddy, you probably wouldn't make it. The Class 5 competition played havoc with these vehicles, literally tearing them apart. Some of these crews have been up all night long, completely rebuilding vehicles. I mean from the ground up, literally from front to back. What the problem is, the track itself at Bloomsburg, it is a dry track, developing a lot of ruts. The guys in the back of the field are hooking these ruts and just throwing them all over the place. The track today is going to be the major story, but just the fact you made it to the line is a victory for you in Bloomsburg.
As we are ready now for competition, first we look at Class 6, the paddle tires. Mike Yosha out of Indianapolis in Hyperactive and Jeremy Finley in the S-Kicker.
You noticed a moment ago in the graphics, Finley was coming up tight and cinching down his shoulder harness because he knows a ride at Bloomsburg is better than an e-ticket ride at Disney World. Good-looking young guy out of Virginia. S-Kicker is the name of the vehicle. Both of these bodies started out to be the same type of body. Yosha kept the top on his, but Finley cut the top off. The reason Finley cut it off is that I kept flipping and tearing it off. We might as well leave it off.
Luck of the draw. Important here with this track to go early in the competition.
Exactly. It's rutting up late in the field. That's the book on the track.
All right, Yosha gets out of it. Let's check the time for Mike Yosha, Hyperactive at 2:60. That will set the benchmark right now, and a 2:68 for Jeremy Finley.
Jerry, I'm impressed. You mentioned how the luck of the draw plays in the sport. Well, the reason it plays in the sport so heavy is we're looking at Yosha. Look how smooth he is. He's up on top and running good. In the near lane, however, the big story is the far lane is a good lane, too. We got a good look at Finley looking right down the barrel of this gun. The track is smooth for the first out.
Now, once again, the object is to get up on top that mud if possible. It starts to rut up as the competition continues. Let's go back trackside. Here's Mike Yosha.
Mike, you and the extremely hyperactive team draw that #1 spot. You were tickled to death to get there. Now, will that number hold up for you? It's a good number.
Well, it is a good number, and the track was perfect. I think they did a real good job doing the track this morning. I hope it holds up.
We shall see as the competition continues here in Bloomsburg. Welcome back to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, where Ford Trucks present the McCarthy's Tire Summer Four-Wheel and Off-Road Jamboree Nationals. Class 6 competition, the paddle tires here in the mud in the infield.
What we're looking at right now is David Ray's car being driven by a new young gun, Darren Tippett. It's a 27 Ford Roadster, and Darren is stepping up to take the seat in this Midnight Magic with the vehicle we know can run. The question is, can this kid handle it? Meanwhile, in the other lane, John Hanley is going to be coming in with the vehicle that goes by the name of Petty Cash, carrying the old red, white, and blue. Kind of a Santa Claus looking guy, isn't he?
I'm sure he'll appreciate you saying that. The gauntlet has been laid down. There's the time to beat a 260. Let's lay out and listen to the sound of horsepower. Oh, a good run by Tibbetts. Look at that, a 254.
Well, what you said a moment ago is exactly right, except now the time to beat is the 254 by the 27 Ford Roadster. 319 is not a bad number, but in this competition, the 254 gets the nod.
That's pretty impressive for the new kid on the block, Darren Tibbetts, in Midnight Magic, got up on top to mud and cranks out a 2:54. And let's go down trackside and visit with Darren.
Well, the good number is 2:54. Puts you in that #1 spot. I know it's got to make you feel good.
That makes you feel real good.
What does the track feel like out there today?
There's a little bit of a hole off the starting line. I felt to get a little bit of air, but after that, it was all clean sailing. That was for David Ray.
Couple of down and dirty veterans coming up. Tom Martin goes up against Ron Pence. These two met up against one another in Class 5 competition. Pence finished second. Tom Martin in the Super Trooper. Ron Pence alongside in Tater. These guys have been around the block a few times.
Yeah, they have. Martin's a world champion in the indoor series in one sanctioning body, as is Pence's in another. Both of them not having the greatest of year this year. They're using it as kind of as a research and development. You notice they're running a different type of tire on the front of both vehicles than they do on the rear. In the Class 6, you can run the scooper tires, but everybody's experimenting. They can make the horsepower, Gary, but they can't always put it to the track.
Let's see if they can get up on top of the dirt.
Martin leads on.
Well, mid-track, Pence had all kinds of trouble. Leaped from the starting line and then hit the berm. There was Martin's time, a 2:62. Pence, a 2:98. But once again, Pence was in trouble. He simply leaped off the line. Now watch this. Just like a frog leaping.
Cole pulled the feet out of the water.
And he gets in trouble right here and runs a relatively slow 2:98 for him. But let's go trackside now with Tom Martin.
Well, he's turned the red lights off, indicates the show's over, but it was good enough for a third place current standing with a 2:62 with a bounce on the end, I might add.
Yeah, you know, the car felt really good. I did feel that bounce. I think I spun a little bit. I think I should have short shifted just a little quicker, but good straight run. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's amazing how much stuff goes on in the cockpit in only 3 seconds per run. Short shifting, as an example. Chuck Knoll comes up in the stepchild. Now, Knoll was a DNF in Class 5. Drives that big block Ford. And Dave Whitehurst will pull alongside. There's the stepchild with Chuck Knoll, and up alongside David Whitehurst in Psycho.
You know, on these races, the competition is going to be so tough. You talk about that big block Ford. When you say big, that's 572 cubic inch. That is huge.
Look at Knoll, the far lane boy. He laid down a run.
Whoa, Gary, on the throttle.
Hang on.
On the throttle again. Look at this.
A 2:51. He was excitement both down the run and down the shutdown area. There's Whitehurst at 260.
That was a gopher run.
276.
Man, he was digging up some real estate. No lawn service right here.
Psycho in the near lane, pulls the front end a bit.
That's a good race.
It
that
really is a good run by
here.
both drivers.
But the fun starts right here when he starts shutting down. Look at Knoll throwing it sideways, trying to scuff off some speed. You got to burp the throttle. Okay, you're going to look right down the gun barrel hill. Take a ride with him, Gary.
Well, once again, as you can see, a little squirrely as he's coming towards you. Gets up on the berm, almost gets out of bounds. Now he has trouble slowing it down. Burps the throttle here to straighten it out just a bit, using the throttle to really control the steering of the car, much like you do a sprint car on a dirt track. But he gets it woed. A lot of excitement, though. And right now, he's the guy to beat at 2:51. Here's Chuck.
Well, Gary, I'm going to use a terminology you've heard before, but he literally blew the doors off the competition. Get out of here, Chuck. That was, to say an eventful run would be an understatement. You were working on the 180-foot track, plus about 300 feet past that. It looked wild, but man, was it quick.
Army, it was hooking good. Now, thanks to engine systems, Crowder clutches, Linco, automotive engineering, Suncoast Performance, we're kicking butt, hopefully, today.
Good driver always gets those sponsors mentioned as he stands atop the leaderboard. Chuck Knoll at 2:51. Then it's Darren Tibbetts at 2:54. A tight bunching right there in the top 5 with Mike Yosha, Tom Martin, and Jeremy Finley with a lot more mud racing to come. Stay tuned. We're coming back to Bloomsburg. Welcome back to Bloomsburg. Let's send it down now to Army with more on some of the secrets behind Chuck Knoll's success.
Tires are a very important part of the Class 6. As a matter of fact, that's what distinguishes it from other classes. We told you about the scoopers that are mounted on a previously used sprint car tire, in this case, a Goodyear tire. But there's another way that you can get bite with these tires, and what that is to let the air out of it. Where you and I normally run 30 pounds of air pressure in our street tire, This tire you're looking at right here only has 3 or 4 pounds of air, and that causes it to wrinkle wall. You see this? With the mud, you can see it where normally you couldn't. The wrinkle wall effect lets the tire collapse a little bit, and when the tire collapses, it can bend in and bite the surface and then spring itself forward. That's why this vehicle is running so hard. His chassis adjustment, part of his routine, is to keep the air pressure in the tires consistent to make it work for the car.
Little sprint car technology from those short dirt bull rings around the country. Coming up next, Joey Villarreal.
He's one of the new kids on the block, runs a Tom Martin prepared vehicle. As a matter of fact, he bought this vehicle from Martin, and Martin is really high on this young man. Says he's got a lot of natural talent, like any kind of racing. Some guys have got it and some guys haven't. Meanwhile, sitting in the other lane now is a guy that goes by the name of Alan Jones. Now, he's out of Idaho. You'd think he'd be spud racing instead of mud racing. He'll show up with a mud hen. He's had a chance to see these guys on TV before. He wants to come up and see if he can run with them. But he picked a tough cookie right here.
Well, he's a long way from home. And it's going to be a long drive back home for him. Joey's at 2:59 in the hunt, but not quite fast enough. Allen at 2:67. The four-wheel jamborees are part of the Special Events Performance Series featuring a weekend of four-wheel fun. Check out the manufacturer's midway. There's also several categories of show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out when a jamboree will be in your area. Let's go down now trackside with Army and Joey.
Remember the name Joe Villarreal. Tom Martin, one of the premier drivers in this sport, said he would sell everything he owns and team up with this young man and let him drive. Joe, I understand a lot of the drivers out there are really impressed with the way you handle a car. They say you've got natural talent.
Well, so far I've been able to handle the car pretty well. Every race we've gone to, I've been able to either stay in it or shut it down if I have to. I'm just happy to be here with all these guys. I ended up starting 3 years ago trying to get it done, and now I finally got it done, and to even be close to all the talent we got out here, it's just a pleasure.
All right, now he's third on the leaderboard. Good-looking car, good-looking run for the youngster.
He's kind of a humble kid, too, because Tom Martin really thinks a lot of him.
No body work here on Dan Brown's Mind Game 2. Now, Dan had a violent wreck in Class 5. He stayed up all night with the help of his friends. Little Beatle music there in the background, a little help from my friends. But that's what it took to get this car back in the race.
He had a whole lot of help, believe me. These guys would use the term thrash, and they completely rebuilt this car. It's the Blower Drive Service sponsor car out of Whittier, California. And yesterday, hooked a rut, got upside down, completely demolished it. But, Gary, as you well know, racers, this is one thing that gets racers going. The fact that people say you can't make it, that just makes them grit their teeth and go after it.
Well, you look at this video that we have here, and all the competition, all the other drivers are together working on this particular car to get him back in competition.
Well, you know, on the other side of the coin, if they were to have a problem, he'd be there helping them. Meanwhile, sitting on the start line, the beautiful old 27 Ford Roadster that goes by the name of Chemical Reaction. This guy could definitely be a player.
The Behrman brothers, Steve Behrman in the cockpit today. The Behrman brothers sharing driving responsibilities. Mike and Steve in Class 6 competition. There's a look at Dan Brown in the bodiless Mind Game. Those guys have worked all night just to get to this point right here. Let's see what he can throw down.
I wonder what's going through his head. He has no idea what that car's going to do. Is it going to jerk? Is it going to flip? Is it going to what? We're just going to watch and see ourselves. Look the rut. Behrman's at one end.
Both of them are going to be disqualified. Behrman over the berm, out of bounds. He's DQ'd. Brown sets a skew in the mud. A DNF for Brown, so all that work for nothing, but it does underscore the camaraderie and the sportsmanship in this particular form of motorsports.
Well, but you find that same camaraderie in every form of motorsports, really. When you're dealing with professional racers, they're there to race.
Well, once again, the chemical reaction goes out of bounds, and there's going to be a DNF for Dan Brown.
See, he turned the wheel to the left, and the car went to the right. He'll have to go back and put that chassis in a straightener to make sure it's flexible.
Well, the Cinderella story for Dan Brown, the Blower Drive Service team, and all the other crews comes to an end. But, Dan, nothing to be ashamed of. And that kind of shows what this sport's made out of. You wouldn't be here without the help from a lot of friends, would you?
Yeah, Army, last night everybody pitched in and brought parts, and we just got a running tally on a wall in there, what we owe everybody to help us, and we worked till about 2:30 this morning, got back up about 5, and we got it together, and I gambled, tried to split the ruts and fell in them, and just about turned it over again.
Look at that vehicle.
Yeah, but he's smiling and got all his teeth. Puts him ahead for the day.
Coming up at the starting line, Mike Camella in Bonkers. There's a good look in the cockpit of Mike.
Camella makes some horsepower for you, but I want you to notice the kind of tires he's running. He's running 4 Class 5 tires. Meanwhile, on the other lane, Gary Olstein, the Dirty Bird. Look at the scooper tires on the back of that vehicle. The Dirty Bird powered by a Ford. Currently a Ford in the lead. Can the old Ford people give him the 1-2 punch? We're going to find out right now. Both drivers in the lane. Camella far lane, Olstein close.
Well, it's all the Dirty Bird as far as the timing, but still not quick enough at 3:23, Mike Camella. And we take a look at the time coming up for Gary Olstein at 2:93, up from Daytona Beach, Florida. That Ford could not get the job done. Chuck Knoll continues to lead at 2:51. Then you see Darren there second, Joey is third, Mike is fourth, and look at that, coming up, hey, we've got Fred Wilhite. Stay with us. How do we like to say a lot of chrome and candy apple here in Bloomsburg, the show and shine competition. A lot of good looking iron here. But a lot of the folks have come to see side-by-side mud racing. And we had that continuing for you in some action earlier. Let's take a look at some highlights. This is a run by Jimmy Carr, a 2:87 in Never Satisfied. Rodney Covington in the Mud Rat was clocked at 2:85. Some pretty quick times from a very stout field here in Bloomsburg. Now Bob Dunham in the near lane taking on Tony Pasillo and Fortified in the far. Now watch what happens to the Rolling Thunder. Brand new body, brand new paint job, and Bob Dunham breaks it in. Rough ride, he was all right, and afterwards Army caught up with Bob Dunham.
You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, Army.
What caused it? Do you have any idea?
She just hooked hard, picked up on the bank, and then she just come over.
Well, she was looking good till she went over.
Thank you.
And that's what the car looks like without the new body and new paint job. Well, our final competitor will draw a single, Fred Wilhite in Money Pit.
You know, it's interesting. I talked to Fred earlier. His claim to fame is his senior year of high school, he was a tri-state area mooning champion. He says that with pride. That's a fact. Folks, you take it for what it's worth. That tells you the kind of personality of this guy.
Well, you can tell with the helmet that he wears his personality. Once again, the time to beat is a 2:51.
Well, they always say it's never over till the fat lady sings. Well, she's just now bellying up to the mic. These guys know that he can get them in a heartbeat. Plus, he's got a single. Don't have to worry about anybody in the lane.
Looks good. Is it fast enough? He needs a 2:51.
No.
Oh, ever so close. 2:54. That puts him second on the leaderboard, but not fast enough. But wow, what a ride this late in the field. The mud's all chopped up. It's very ruddy. What an excellent ride at 2:54 for Fred Wilhite. As we take a look at the final standings, Chuck Knoll wins it at 2:51.1. And as we just said, Fred Wilhite late in the running at 2:54.5. And there's a look at the second 5 here in Bloomsfield. Let's go down now and talk to our winner. Here's Army.
No fair, and he blew all the doors off of it. What else can you say? These guys had the hot hand at Bloomsburg, and you did it a different way. You did it with Ford horsepower.
Yeah, Army, we tried doing it different. Everybody runs Chevrolets and Rodaks and that. We tried doing something different, make a little more power, and it looks like it's working.
Okay, as crew chief of this thing and partner, it's got to make you feel good to win this one. This is a big race in this sport.
Yes, sir. It's our biggest win ever. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've worked so hard. We work almost every night and all that, and Chuck's wife gets upset with us, but it's all worth it now.
I tell you what, congratulations, fella. You're a credit to the sport. We're glad to have you here, and I'm glad to see you put the Bloomsburg win under your belt.
Thank you, Army, very much.
Well, congratulations to Chuck Knoll for winning, but you have to be impressed with Fred Wilhite. He comes out late and almost sticks it in for the win, and Army's cut up with Fred.
Second place finish. Not bad at all for this competition. Drawing at the bottom of the field, you were kind of worried about that, but the track seemed to not go away today.
It was definitely has been improved. There wasn't anything to hook up there. The luck of the draw kept me out of the winner's circle.
That'll do it from Bloomsburg. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's news of an exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.